How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, February 5th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do a greatest of all time profile for Cristiano Ronaldo, the all-time great Portuguese forward for Manchester United, turns 37 today. And my intention with this episode is, of course, to point out on a micro and macro level that Cristiano Ronaldo is, of course, one of the very best soccer players on this world in a global sport where you have millions and even billions of people vying for a very few amount of spots. But of course, I'd even go past that in saying that he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest soccer player to ever lace up the boots. And just considering that he is the all-time record holder for most appearances, most goals and assists in Champions League. He has the most European Championship goals. He has the most international goals by a male player. He has the most international appearances by a European male player. He is also one of the few players who have ever made 1,100 professional career appearances. And he's also scored the most goals for a club and country out of any living person that has ever played the game. But even that just doesn't even pay enough respect to what he's been able to do, as he has been a player that has seriously impacted every single club that he's played for, and he's won a lot of trophies, scored a lot of goals, and there's a reason that he's the most followed human being on Instagram. So, before I get into it, I gotta say, describe his game. He stands at about 6'2". He's very strong, and he's a very athletic person. I would say pound for pound, one of the best athletes that has ever played the game. Incredibly fast, incredibly strong, incredibly smart. He knows what he's doing with the ball. Incredibly controlled. And I think that's one of the more underrated aspects of the game. Even though it looks like he's playing out of control, he most definitely has a lot of aspects of the game under his control at every second as he plays. There's a lot of reason that every eye on the world is on Cristiano Ronaldo when the ball is at his feet. So, getting into his background, he's originally from Funchal, Madeira, Portugal, which is an island off of the peninsula. He would eventually find himself playing for Portuguese youth systems before eventually getting called up to play for Sporting CP. He would make his Sporting CP debut in his age 17 season in 2002. And in that season itself, he would go on to start 11 of the 25 matchups he played for a Sporting CP team, who finished third in the Portuguese league, and they would end up getting knocked out in the third round of Champions League, as they would, or at least within their group itself, they would have to face off against Manchester United, where Manchester United would get a really quick look at this teenage kid, and immediately after his lone season at the top level for Sporting CP, where he scored 3 goals in that league itself, he would go on and get moved to Manchester United as just a teenager. And Cristiano Ronaldo's first season in the Premier League would be his age 18 season in 2003-2004. In his very first season in Manchester, he would go on to start 15 of the 29 games for a Manchester United club that will go on to finish with the third best record in the Premier League after they had won the previous years. They would go on to win the FA Cup final that year, however, as they would end up beating Millwall in Ronaldo's very first season, as Ronaldo would score the very first goal of that game. And of course, him being a teenager, this would be a very big goal for him to score, especially at this moment. Manchester United would also go on to win the FA Community Shield, the Football Association Community Shield, as they ended up drawing with Arsenal for the game, and they would end up beating Arsenal on penalty kicks in order to win their second title with Ronaldo, or at least with Ronaldo on the team. In the Champions League, they would end up losing in the round of 16, as their end would be met as they faced off against Portugal, and Portugal would be the end of them for that year. However, in that first year in Premier League play, Cristiano Ronaldo would go on to add he would go on to add a couple of goals, at least at the Premier League level. and he was able to make his Champions League knockout stage debut, as of course this would go on to be the season that Porto would go all the way to win the title, as they would be the very first team from Portugal to win since 1987, when Porto had done it since then. But following his very first season with with Manchester United, a team that was actually a qualified your top flight European team, Cristiano Ronaldo would go on to compete with Portugal at the 2004 Euros. In the Euros, they would make it out of their group stage, as Ronaldo would score a goal in his very first game at the Euros. He would score in the 93rd minute. Once they made it out the group stage, they would end up drawing with England in the quarterfinal round. In the quarterfinal round, Ronaldo would end up scoring one of the penalties that Portugal needed to advance. Once they made it to the semifinals, Ronaldo would score the first goal out of 2 for Portugal as they advanced past Netherlands to make it into the final. Once they made it to the final, they would end up losing to Greece. But of course, they would make it all the way to the final in Ronaldo's first appearance, and he was able to add a couple of goals there, at least starting what would be an iconic career at the Portuguese for the Portuguese national team in the international tournament level. Following the Euros in 2004, Ronaldo would return to the Manchester United Football Club for his second season there. In his age 19 season in 2004-2005, he would start 25 of the 33 matchups he played for a Manchester United side that would finish third in the Premier League for the second year in a row. In the FA Cup, they would go all the way to the final, where they would end up losing to Arsenal on penalty kicks, as Ronaldo was one of the 4 players from Man U that actually made his penalty kick. They would end up losing in the semifinals, however, of the Football League Cup, as they ended up losing to Chelsea 2-1 in the second leg. And then that year, they would end up finishing as runners-up in the Community Shield, as they ended up losing 3-1 to Arsenal there, as Manchester United were still a good side, but they weren't necessarily winning trophies in Europe per se. They would make it all the way to the Champions League yet again. 2004-2005, Ronaldo would add his first couple of Champions League assists, as Manchester United would eventually see themselves losing in the round of 16 this year. The team that they had lost to would end up being Milan, and 2004-2005 was the season in which Milan made it all the way to the final, but they ended up losing to Liverpool. But of course, following that 2004-2005 season, Ronaldo would return for his third season with the Manchester United Football Club. In his age 20 season in 2005-2006, Ronaldo would start 24 of the 33 matchups he played for a Manchester United team that would finish as runners-up in the Premier League. This would be the best finish they had since he had been there. In the FA Cup itself, Manchester United would finish in the round of 5. However, in the Football League Cup final, they would end up beating Wigan Athletic 4-0, as they ended up taking home that trophy that year. Ronaldo would score Man U's third goal in the 59th minute to put them up. And this would be the only trophy that Manchester United would claim this year. They would end up losing in the group stage of Champions League this year, as they finished at the very bottom of a group with Villarreal, Benfica, and Lille. So they wouldn't even get transferred to the UEFA Cup. But of course, following a season in which Ronaldo was able to score 9 goals and 6 assists, which were then career highs, he would compete with Portugal in the World Cup for the very first time in his career. In 2006, the World Cup was in Germany this year, and in the German World Cup, they would end up making it through group stage, as Ronaldo was able to score one of their 2 goals versus Iran. Once they made it to the round of 16, Portugal was able to beat the Netherlands 1-0. In the quarterfinals, they ended up drawing with England, as this matchup ended up going to penalty kicks. And Portugal was able to advance right by. In the semifinal, Portugal would lose to France, and then they would end up losing it 3-1 in the third place matchup to Germany, so they were not able to medal in 2006. However, Cristiano Ronaldo was still ascending to being one of the world's best players. And after that 2006 World Cup, he would start to become a different type of player that most leagues, now everyone in the world would have to deal with. His first double-digit scoring season would be his age 21 season with the Manchester United Football Club in 2006-2007. In his fourth season with Manchester United, Ronaldo would start 31 of the 34 matchups he played for a Manchester United side that would win the Premier League for the very first time since Ronaldo had been there. He would tie with Wayne Rooney for the team high in scoring himself. In that season, he would finish with 17 goals and 8 assists in those 34 matches played, as this was the year he would start to really kind of ascend to a level where people would start to recognize him as a household name. Within that season itself, in addition to Man U winning the Premier League title, they finished runners-up in the FA Cup. They ended up losing 1-0 to Chelsea as Didier Drogba scored the game-winning goal in the 116th minute. That year, they would end up losing in the fourth round of the League Cup final, in the Football League Cup. And this year, they would make it all the way to the Champions League semifinals before they ended up losing to Milan 3-5 on aggregates. In their very first goal, Ronaldo would score the very first goal of this semifinal matchup, but Milan would come back and beat Man U 3-0 in the second matchup to advance on aggregates. That is how Ronaldo would get knocked out. But of course, this would be the very first time that he would win a League Cup for one of the respected leagues in Europe. Not to mention that in Champions League in the semifinal run, he added 3 goals and 4 assists. And among those 3 goals was his very first Champions League goal that he would score on his way to leading every soccer player that ever played in Champions League goals for his career. Following that 2006-2007 season, Cristiano Ronaldo would, of course, return for his 5th full season with the Manchester United Football Club. In his 5th season, he would start 31 of the 34 matchups he played for a Manchester United team that would repeat and win the Premier League title for the second year in a row. And very tough for Premier League teams to win the title a couple years in a row, but this was during the Sir Alex Ferguson era, so anything was possible for Manchester United. In that Premier League title season, Cristiano Ronaldo would go on to finish with 31 goals and 6 assists. This would be the very first time in his career that he would lead a league in scoring, the very first season Golden Boot that he was able to pick up. And not to mention that 2007-2008 would be the second year in a row that he was named the Manchester United Player of the Year, and not to mention that alongside his 31 goals and 6 assists for this team, Manchester United was also able to go on to win the Football Association Community Shield. They ended up beating Chelsea after drawing 1-1 as Chelsea missed all 3 of their penalty kicks. They would go on to make it all the way to the Champions League final, where they would end up beating Chelsea yet again. And in this final, they would beat Chelsea on penalty kicks, as Ronaldo had scored in regulation in the 26th minute, but it was his penalty kick miss which sent it into extra pens. But they would go on to take home this UEFA Champions League final, the very first time that Cristiano Ronaldo would win the Champions League in his lifetime. And of course, he had gone on to win it yet again after that season. And not to mention that on his way there, he would add 8 goals and 2 assists as Man U would go on to win this title for the very first time since 1999. So this would end a decade of them not winning, and Cristiano Ronaldo at this point ascended to where he got to at the very top of the world. Following that win with Manchester United in 2008, he would go on to compete with Portugal at the Euros. Once they finished at the very top of their group stage, I guess within group stage, Ronaldo did score against the Czech Republic as he scored Portugal's second goal. Once they made it through to the quarterfinals, they would end up losing 3-2 to Germany. And that is, of course, how the Euro 2008 would end, as Spain ended up winning this year over Germany, as Germany had made it all the way to the final. Following his 2008 Euro appearance, Cristiano Ronaldo would return for his sixth and final season with the Manchester United Football Club. In his age 29 season, before finishing all 33 of the matchups he played for Manchester United this season, in 2008, Cristiano Ronaldo was awarded the Ballon d'Or, which is the French award given to the best soccer player in the world. This is the first out of the 5 times that he was, of course, gifted the award whilst they had it. And this was all while Lionel Messi was starting to establish himself as one of the best players in the world at Barcelona at the same time. After Ronaldo had won his Ballon d'Or and, of course, was named the Portuguese Footballer of the Year for the second year in a row, Ronaldo would go on to finish with 18 goals and 6 assists for a Manchester United side that would go on to win the Premier League for the third year in a row. It's very rare in which you see a team three-peat in the Premier League, in which Manchester United, this would be the second time they had done so since the turn of the 90s into the 21st century. And not to mention that in 2008, 2009, the only cup that they were in, I guess they were in contention for a lot. They were able to win the Football League Cup as they ended up drawing 0-0 with Tottenham as Ronaldo made one of the team's penalty kicks. They would end up winning the FA Community Shield for the year as they ended up beating Portsmouth 0-0 and winning that, or they ended up drawing with Portsmouth 0-0 and they won that one on penalties. After winning Champions League the prior year, they had gone on to win the FIFA Club World Cup as they had beat Quito, the team out of Ecuador. They would go on to finish as the Super Cup runners-up that year as they lost to Zenit St. Petersburg, who won Europa League. And they finished as runners-up in Champions League in 2009 as they had run into Barcelona, but they had ended up losing to Lionel Messi in Barcelona as Messi scored as he had scored Barcelona's second goal of the game. But of course, following his 6th season with Manchester United after he established himself as one of the best players in the world and was named the Ballon d'Or winner for the 2008 season. Cristiano Ronaldo was then signed by Real Madrid, which of course is a team in soccer that does not lack money. He was transferred for a world record fee at the time. He was transferred for 80 million euro, which is about 94 million or he was transferred for 80 million pounds, which is equivalent to 94 million euro. And he would go on to play with Real Madrid for 9 seasons. His very first season of the 9 would be his age 24 season in 2009-2010. In his age 24 season with the Real Madrid Football Club, he would start 28 of the 29 La Liga matchups he played in a season where Real Madrid would finish as runners-up in La Liga, as of course Barcelona was really sitting on top. In the La Liga matchups he played in his very first season in Spain, Ronaldo would finish with 26 goals and 7 assists. He had 33 scoring plays in those 29 games. This would be the second time in his career in which he's had more scoring plays than games played in a domestic season. Outside of those matchups in 2009, he was also able to play 6 matchups in a Champions League run that would eventually see Real Madrid finish in the round of 16. In the round of 16, Real Madrid was eventually knocked out by Lyon, as Lyon would get knocked out in the semifinal by Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich would eventually get knocked out by Inter Milan this year. In the 6 matchups he played, Ronaldo was able to finish with 7 Champions League goals and an assist. This would go on to be Ronaldo's first time in which he's had more goals scored than Champions League games played. But of course, following that first season in Real Madrid, he had at least shown the rest of Spain that he definitely meant business by signing with this team, even though Real Madrid had not won a trophy this year. That did not mean that he would go trophyless in Real Madrid. Following his very first season in Real Madrid, where he would finish right behind Higuain in goal scoring, Ronaldo would compete with Portugal at the World Cup in 2010 when the World Cup was in South Africa. In the group stage, they would end up beating North Korea 7-0. That was their biggest win. And in that matchup, Ronaldo would score the 7th goal of that matchup. Once they made it to the round of 16, they would end up losing to Spain, as in 2010, Spain would eventually go on to win their very first World Cup. So that's exactly how 2010 would spin out. And following that 2010 FIFA World Cup, following that appearance, where he lost to the team, or he lost to the country where he plays soccer in. He would go on to play a second season with Real Madrid, his age 25 season in 2010-2011. In this season, he would start 32 of the 34 La Liga matchups he played, in a season where Real Madrid would finish as the runners-up in La Liga for the third year in a row, the second year in a row since Ronaldo had been there. In La Liga itself, he would finish with 40 goals and 9 assists. This would be the first time he would put together 40 goals in a domestic season. This would be the first time he put up 9 assists in a domestic season. And of course, following that, in those 34 games, he would finish with 49 total scoring plays. And once again, putting himself alongside Messi as one of the two best players in the entire world that year. Even though Real would finish as runners-up in La Liga that year, they would go on to win the Copa del Rey as they beat Barcelona in the final, as the game-winning goal would come from Real Madrid, the game-winning goal would come from Ronaldo in the 103rd minute to give Real Madrid his very first Copa win since he had been there. And this would be the very first time they had won the Copa España since 1993. In 2011, Real Madrid would go all the way to the Champions League semifinal, where they would meet their end versus Barcelona, who would go on to the next round and beat Manchester United in the final in 2011. But of course, following Ronaldo's first season where he would score 40 goals, he would come back for his third season with the Real Madrid Soccer Club in his age 26 season. In 2011-2012, he would start 37 of the 38 La Liga games he played. This would be the only time he's played all 38 La Liga games in a season. In that season, he would go on to help Real Madrid win the La Liga for the very first time since he had been there, that being his third season with the club. He's only won La Liga with Real Madrid twice, so this would be the very first time he had done it. In that season, he would finish with 46 goals and 12 assists, which at that point were the most goals and assists he had put together in a La Liga season. His 58 combined scoring plays in 38 games would, of course, be what helped put Real Madrid at the very top. And alongside winning La Liga, they would finish runners-up in the Supercopa de España as they lost 5-4 on aggregate to Barcelona. Cristiano Ronaldo would score Real Madrid's first goal in the second leg, as this would be the game where Messi would score 2 and beat Barcelona on just the aggregate score. They would end up losing in the quarterfinals of the Copa del Rey this season, as in this quarterfinal round, they would eventually see themselves get knocked out by Barcelona. And then they would end up losing in the semifinals for the second year in a row, as this year the team that would see them meet their end was Chelsea, who ended up beating Bayern Munich by penalty kicks in the Champions League final that year. So following Ronaldo's first season in which he was able to help lead Real Madrid to the title, alongside his 10 Champions League goals to help Real Madrid get knocked out in the semis by Chelsea. He was able to lead Portugal at the 2012 Euros. After they finished second in their group stage to Germany, they were able to make it through, thanks to their third group stage matchup where they beat the Netherlands 2-1. Both of their goals would come from Ronaldo after Netherlands scored their first goal of the game. Once they made it to the knockout stage, Portugal would end up beating the Czech Republic 1-0 as Ronaldo scored Portugal's lone goal. And then they would end up getting knocked out of the semifinals by Spain on penalty kicks. And following that 2012 Euro final, Cristiano Ronaldo would return to Real Madrid for what would be his fourth season with the club. In his age 27 season in 2012-13, Cristiano Ronaldo would go on to start 30 of the 34 games he played in a La Liga season where Real Madrid would finish as the runners-up, yet again for the third time in his first four seasons with the club. In La Liga, he will go on to finish with 34 goals and 10 assists. His 44 combined scoring plays in 34 games would, of course, be very common for him. His fourth year in a row in La Liga in which he's had more goals plus assists combined than games played. Outside of that, he was able to finish with 12 goals, or he played 12 games and finished with 12 goals in a Champions League season that would go on and see Real Madrid finish in the semifinals for the third year in a row. This year, Real Madrid would end up losing to Borussia Dortmund, and Borussia Dortmund would end up losing in the final to Bayern Munich. That's how that cookie crumbled as they finished as the semifinals again. They would, however, win the Supercopa de España in 2012 as they ended up beating Barcelona. They ended up drawing 4-4, but Real Madrid won on away goals. Ronaldo was able to score Real Madrid's first goal in the first leg, and he scored Real Madrid's second goal in aggregate tying goal for the second leg as well, as he was able to help Real Madrid capture their lone trophy of the year. Not to mention that they also finished runners-up in the Copa del Rey as they end up losing 2-1 to Atletico Madrid. Real Madrid's lone goal came in the 14th minute from Cristiano Ronaldo. Following his 2012-13 season, where, of course, he was proving that he was one of the world's best yet again, Cristiano Ronaldo would, of course, return for his at this point, what will be his fifth season with the Real Madrid Soccer Club. In his age 28 season, he would start all 30 of the games he played for a Real Madrid team that would finish third in La Liga for the first time he had been there. But, of course, before that season had ended, in 2013, Cristiano Ronaldo was given his second Ballon d'Or, where he was recognized as the best player in the world and given this French media award for his amazing performances from what he had done the year before. When he had finished his fifth year in Real Madrid, he would finish with 31 goals and 9 assists. His 40 combined scoring plays in 30 games would, of course, continue his streak of having more scoring plays than games played, essentially. And alongside Ronaldo and Real Madrid finishing with their worst standings since he had been there, he would also go on to play 6 games in a Copa del Rey run that would eventually see Real Madrid win that Copa del Rey run. They would beat Barcelona 2-1 in the final as the goals came from Angel Di Maria and Gareth Bale. This year, they would also go all the way to the Champions League final, where they would go on and actually beat Atletico Madrid in the final. They won this game in extra time, as going into the final, Sergio Ramos had to tie it up at the 93rd minute to send it in, and Real Madrid would score 3 goals in extra time, the third being a 120th minute penalty kick from Cristiano Ronaldo to win Real Madrid its first Champions League title as a team since 2002. This would be the second time Ronaldo had won a Champions League final, and this would be the second team that he had, of course, won it with. And even in all this in a season where Real Madrid had finished third in the title race. Not to mention that in that Champions League run in which he would win for the first time, he would finish with 17 goals and 3 assists in the 11 matchups he played. His 17 goals, I believe, are a Champions League season record. Not to mention that in the Copa del Rey that they won, he was also able to add 3 goals in that run as well, as Real Madrid, of course, would take home a very important title. Following this Champions League win, following Cristiano Ronaldo's second Ballon d'Or, the second time that he was able to claim the Ballon d'Or, Portugal would compete at the 2014 World Cup. This one would take place in Brazil. I guess in group stage, they wouldn't even make it out, but in their last group stage matchup versus Ghana, Ronaldo would score Portugal's lone goal, as Portugal would not make it out of this group. And following Portugal's short appearance in the 2014 World Cup, Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, would compete in his 6th season with the Real Madrid soccer club, and in his age 29 season, he would start all 35 games in a season where Real Madrid finished as runners-up for what would be the 4th time in his first 6 years there. Within the middle of this season, Cristiano Ronaldo would also be given the 2014 Ballon d'Or. This was the second year in which he had won it, and this would, of course, follow his season in which he had led Real Madrid to his second Champions League win. But of course, as the season finished out, in La Liga itself, he would finish with 48 goals and 16 assists, which would statistically go down as Cristiano Ronaldo's best calendar, or I guess best beginning to end domestic season within Spain. His combined 64 scoring plays and 35 matches played, I believe, is the best ratio of scoring to games played, or of scoring plays to games played that he's ever had. Not to mention that in that season outside of Champions League, he was able to add 1 goal in his 2 Copa del Rey matchups that would eventually see Real Madrid get knocked out in the round of 16. He would also help Real Madrid make it all the way to the semifinals, as this year he would add 10 goals and 3 assists. This year, Real Madrid would make it all the way to the semifinals and lose in the semifinals to Juventus, who ended up losing to Barcelona in the final. And then, of course, outside of that matchup, Real Madrid was, of course, able to win the Super Cup versus Sevilla 2-0, as Ronaldo scored both goals in that matchup. They would end up losing the Supercopa de España this year 2-1 on aggregates. And then they would end up winning the FIFA Club World Cup, as in the final they would end up beating San Lorenzo from Argentina. And both goals in this matchup would come from Sergio Ramos and Gareth Bale. But of course, this would finish off his first season after they had won the Champions League. And following this, he would go off and put together what could possibly be known as one of the most impressive three-peats that a team has ever had. Following his 6th season with once he finished his 6 seasons with Real Madrid, he would come back for his 7th season with the Real Madrid Soccer Club. In his age 30 season, he would start all 36 of the games he played, in a season where Real Madrid would finish as runners-up in La Liga for what would be the 5th time in his first 7 seasons there. Even in that season, Real Madrid would finish in the round of 32 in Copa del Rey. But of course, this season would separate itself, as this would be the second year in a 3-year stint in which Real Madrid would win the Champions League. But before getting there in that season, Cristiano Ronaldo added 35 goals and 11 assists in 36 games played. That is 46 total scoring plays. That is the 4th time in his first 7 years in La Liga he was also able to add he was able to put together at least 30 goals, and he was able to put together at least 10 assists in a season. In addition to him putting together another virtuoso La Liga season. In Champions League, he was able to put together 16 goals and 4 assists as Real Madrid would plunge all the way to the Champions League final. This year, they would end up beating Atletico Madrid on penalty kicks as they would make it all the way to the end. Cristiano Ronaldo would end up making the last penalty kick to give Real Madrid this title win. And this will be the third time that he had won the Champions League title, the second that he had won with Real Madrid. Following this 2015-16 season, in which Real Madrid's lone title was their Champions League win, Ronaldo would compete with Portugal at the 2016 UEFA Euros. Once they made it through group stage, finishing third in their group behind Hungary and Iceland. First looking at those matchups, Portugal would end up, or I guess Ronaldo would score 2 of Portugal's 3 goals as they drew with Hungary in that last group stage matchup. And then once they made it to knockout, Portugal would beat Croatia 1-0 in extra time. They would end up beating Poland in the quarterfinals as Ronaldo would score one of the penalty kicks that would help get them through. Once they made it to the semifinals, Ronaldo would score Portugal's first goal to help them beat Wales. And once they made it to the final, Portugal would end up beating France 1-0 off of an extra time goal. So, of course, Ronaldo was able to help lead Portugal to beat France and help them win the Euros. Very big win considering, all the teams that are competing in the Euros at the same time. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in the 7 matchups he played. And then following that 2016 season, where Real Madrid had won their second Champions League title in 3 years, he would throw Real Madrid right back in the mix in his 8th season with the club, which of course would take place in his age 31 season in 2016-17. Ronaldo would start all 29 of his La Liga matchups as he would help Real Madrid win La Liga for the second time in his 8-year stint there. First time they had done it since 2012. And this is while they were, and this is as they were expanding to, this is while they were in Galactico form. And in this 2016-17 season in which they won La Liga, Ronaldo would finish with 25 goals and 6 assists. His lowing goal scoring and assist numbers he put together in a season, but his 31 scoring plays would still be more than matches played. It would continue his streak that he had kept every season that he had been in La Liga. And in addition to those 25 goals and 6 assists in La Liga, he was able to add a goal in a Copa del Rey run that would see Real Madrid lose in the quarterfinals. This year, after they had won the Champions League the year before, they had gone on to beat Sevilla in the Super Cup 3-2. And they had gone on to win in the FIFA Club World Cup, as in the final they'd have to beat the Kashima Antlers from Japan. In the final, Ronaldo would end up scoring a hat-trick as he scored his first goal off of a penalty kick, and then he would score his last 2 goals in extra time to complete the game to, of course, give Real Madrid what would be their second Club World Cup since Ronaldo had been there. And then not to mention that in the Champions League final, Real Madrid would go all the way to the end, and they would end up beating Juventus 4-1 in the final. Ronaldo would score 2 goals this game. He scored Real Madrid's first and third goals of the matchup, as, of course, winning 3 in a 4-year span is a very big deal considering the previous Champions League win before that was 2002. And of course, Cristiano Ronaldo was at the front of what was a well put together Galacticos Real Madrid team at the top of their powers. This is the only season in which they had won Champions League and La Liga in the same season. Following that year, Cristiano Ronaldo would return to Real Madrid for what would be his 9th and final season with the club in his age 32 season in 2017-2018. In that season, he would start all 27 of the games he played in a season where Real Madrid would finish third in La Liga. This would be the second time they had done so while he was there. They would end up losing in the quarterfinals of the Copa del Rey, as in that quarterfinal round, the team that would beat Real Madrid would be Leganes, who ended up losing to Sevilla, who lost to Barcelona in the tournament. In his final season with Real Madrid, after they had won the Champions League the prior year, he was able to help them win the Super Cup over Manchester United 2-1. The Real Madrid club was able to beat Barcelona 5-1 on aggregates, as Ronaldo scored Real Madrid's second goal in the first leg. And then they were able to, of course, complete the trifecta, and they were able to win the FIFA Club World Cup for that year as well. And then taking a look at how it finished out, they would end up beating Gremlo from Brazil, as Ronaldo would score Real Madrid's lone goal to help them win that matchup as well. This season will go down in history, 2017-18, because it would be the season where Real Madrid will go all the way to the Champions League final. This time they'd face off against Liverpool. They would beat Liverpool 3-1 to win their third straight Champions League final, their fourth in a 5-year span, and this would be the 5th time that Cristiano Ronaldo has won Champions League. This is the most recent time that Cristiano Ronaldo and Real Madrid have won Champions Leagues as entities by themselves. And, of course, the last time that they had won it together. Following his 9th and final season with the Real Madrid soccer club, Cristiano Ronaldo would, of course, compete with Portugal at the 2018 World Cup, which is the most recent World Cup that has been played. They would make it out of group stage. In their very first group stage matchup, they would end up drawing versus Spain, as Cristiano Ronaldo had to score a hat trick in order to get Portugal 1 point out of this matchup. He would score 1 goal against Morocco, as he would help them win that matchup. Once Portugal made it through group stage, they would end up losing 2-1 in the round of 16 to Uruguay, and that is the most recent World Cup matchup that Cristiano Ronaldo has played in. Of course, his next appearance will come in 2022, as hopefully Portugal qualifies for this upcoming World Cup, and that's what that matchup is looking like. And then, of course, taking a look at how his first season outside of La Liga fared. His first season outside of La Liga would be played at Juventus and G.O.A.T, as the Italian champions would, of course, acquire Cristiano Ronaldo for a €100 million transfer. In his very first season at Juventus, in his age 33 season, Ronaldo would start 30 of the 31 matchups he played in a season where Juventus would go on to win the title. This time, they had gone on to win the title for the 8th year in a row. This would be their 35th Serie A title for the year. In that Serie A season, Ronaldo finished with 21 goals and 8 assists. He had 29 total scoring plays in 31 domestic matchups. This would be the very first time since his last season in England in which he's had more games played than total scoring plays, even though he was 2 scoring plays short. Outside of the Serie A for that season, he was also able to add a Supercoppa Italiana goal for a Juventus club. That, of course, would see them win the Supercoppa Italia. They would win 1-0 over Milan, as Ronaldo's goal came in the 61st minute. It was the only goal they needed. This year, they would end up losing in the quarterfinal rounds of the Supercoppa Italiana, or for the Italian Cup, they would end up losing to Atalanta, who would go all the way to the final and lose to Lazio. And then once they made it to taking a look at how they fared in Champions League, Cristiano Ronaldo was able to add his 6 goals and 2 assists in a run that would see Juventus eventually fall out. Juventus would get knocked out in the quarterfinals by Ajax, who would get knocked out in the semifinals by Tottenham, who would end up losing in the 2019 Champions League final to Liverpool, the team that Ronaldo and Real Madrid had beat the year before. Following his very first year in Juve, in which he was able to help them win an Italian title, he would come back for his age 34 season with the Juventus Soccer Club. And in his age 34 season in 2019-2020, he would start all 33 of the matchups he played in a season where Juventus would win their 9th Serie A title in a row. This would be their 36th title that they have won. And this is the last Serie A title that they have won to date. In their 2019-2020 season that was impacted by COVID, Ronaldo would finish with 31 goals and 5 assists, and this would be his very first Serie A season with at least 30 goals. His first season with more scoring plays and games played, as he had 36 total scoring plays versus 33 total matches played. Outside of Serie A, he would go on to add 2 goals in a Coppa Italiano run that would see Coppa Italia run that would see Juventus finish all the way in the final, as they ended up losing on penalties to Napoli. They would also finish as runners-up in the Supercoppa Italiana, as they lost 3-1 to Lazio as well. And taking a look at how they fared in Champions League in 2019-2020, Juventus would end up losing in the round of 16 to Olympique Lyonnais, who went all the way to the semifinals right before they lost to the eventual champions Bayern Munich. And then following Juventus's most recent chase to the title, Cristiano Ronaldo would go on to play his 3rd and final full season with Juventus. And in his age 35 season, in his 3rd season in Italy, he would start 31 of the 33 matchups he played for a Juventus squad that would finish 4th in Serie A, the first time they finished outside of being the number 1 champion since 2011. So, of course, this would be very new for them, as this was the 3rd year in a row Ronaldo would lead the team in scoring. But in that Serie A season, he would finish with 29 goals and 2 assists. His 29 goals would still be yet another amazing season, in which this would, of course, I guess, following this season, this would be the 12th straight season in which Ronaldo has finished with 20 goals in a domestic season, which is an incredible feat to carry, considering all those seasons he scored at least 25 in that 12-year span. And outside of Juventus finishing 4th in Serie A, they had a pretty good season. In the Coppa Italia, they would end up winning this tournament. They ended up beating Atalanta 2-1. They would end up beating Napoli in the Supercoppa Italiana, as Ronaldo would score Juventus's first of the 2 goals to help them win there. And they would end up losing in the Champions League round of 16, the last time that a round of 16 was played. Last year, they had ended up losing to Porto. Porto would end up losing to the eventual champions Chelsea in the quarterfinals. But that would result in the last full season that was played in Serie A, and this would lead comfortably in the 2021 Euros that Ronaldo had played for Portugal, which would be the 2020 Euros. They got knocked back a year because of COVID. Portugal would make it out of group stage with 4 points. In their first matchup, Portugal would end up beating Hungary 3-0, as Ronaldo would score their 2nd and 3rd goals. The 2nd goal was a penalty. Their second matchup, they would end up losing 4-2 to Germany, as Ronaldo would score Portugal's first goal there. Their third matchup would see Portugal drawing with France, as Ronaldo scored both of Portugal's goals off of penalties. And then once they made it to the round of 16, Portugal would end up losing 1-0 to Belgium. And then once that whole stage was finished, this most recent summer, you'd see Belgium losing to Italy, who would Belgium lost to Italy in the quarterfinals, and then Italy went on to win the 2020 Euros. That's how that tournament ended. That is the last time he's played in a world tournament for Portugal, as he's been playing qualifiers and everything since. But following that 2020-2021 season, Cristiano Ronaldo would, of course, get signed by Manchester United to return home, as he signed a 2-year contract plus an optional couple years if he decided to stay. And this currently is his first year back, as this is, of course, his 7th season playing for the Manchester United Football Club. The last time he played for them was 2009, this being his age 36 season in 2021-22. So far, he started 16 of the 18 games he's played for a Manchester United team that's currently sitting 4th place in the Premier League as of right now. They are sitting 1 point ahead of 2nd place West Ham. They sit 9 points below 3rd place Chelsea, as at this point of the season, they definitely need to win out if they want to qualify for Champions League, as it looks as though the Premier League is most definitely out of reach at this point. So far through 18 games, Ronaldo he's added 8 goals and 3 assists to help Manchester United in the best way he most definitely could, as the Manchester United team has been dealing with a lot of they've been dealing with a lot of drama from beginning to end as they figure out their team identity. Also, within this season itself, Ronaldo has been able to keep he kept Man U in the FA Cup as long as he could, right before Man U would end up losing in the FA Cup. They lost actually yesterday to Middlesbrough 8-7, or they lost on penalties 8-7. And in addition to that, he has also played 5 Champions League matchups, and he scored 6 goals. He scored in every single Champions League matchup he's played for a Manchester United team who at the moment is they're right now going to face off against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League round of 16, after Man United had finished on top of their group, finishing 1 point ahead of the reigning Europa League champions Villarreal. So they're most definitely alive in all of these as well. But that is currently where Manchester United and Cristiano Ronaldo stand as of today's date, Saturday, February 5th, 2022, which is also Cristiano Ronaldo's 37th birthday. With that said, I want to thank everyone that's been listening to all 52 minutes. I do hope all is well. There is so much to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. He's already accomplished so much, and he was already gifted a FIFA award this past year, a Lifetime Achievement Award for, of course, having the most international goals scored and having 800 career goals for club and country. With that said, I don't know if there's much better of a career you can put together than Cristiano Ronaldo's. The man scores goals, the man assists, the man wins trophies. He does what is needed to win. Even in his age 37 season, he's proving that he is one of the world's most valuable and respected players, and he's definitely a player that we should enjoy as long as he's playing at this level. He and LeBron are the 2 players that are playing at this age at an incredible level, not to mention the quarterbacks in the NFL as well, as we are witnessing one of the greatest careers that has ever been played. With that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 53 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. Once again, today is February 5th, 2022. Once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Sunday, February 6th. And until then, I want to thank everyone once again. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out.